think we will start. So first of all, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this webinar where we're going to talk about what we're kind of calling a real world guide to AI. First of all, some introductions. My name is Rhys Kerrigan. I'm the head of the consulting arm of Kinetics, which we call Cambium. And my role involves largely acting as the part-time or fractional IT manager for a number of our clients, making sure that their IT strategy meets their business needs. With me today is Ben Fish, who's our practice lead for digital enablement. Ben's the guru when it comes to AI tools, and especially the Microsoft suite of AI tools or the various Copilot tools that exist. So I'm going to talk today around my opinion of things. Ben knows the actual truth. So if I get any curly questions, I will probably be calling on Ben. First of all, some housekeeping. This webinar is being recorded, so we will post the recording on the Kinetics website at the end of the session today. All your microphones are muted, but feel free to post any questions you've got into the chat. Ben's going to keep an eye on that, and we'll go through them at the end of the presentation. We've only got 30 minutes today, so the presentation's going to be short and sweet. It's a big topic, but a small amount of time. But we'll hopefully deliver something useful for you to take away. So let's get into it. So just to set the scene, you've undoubtedly heard about AI. It's impossible to not have heard about AI, but you might have heard conflicting messages about what AI is all about. You might have heard that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's going to solve world peace. It's going to transform our lives. And then you've possibly also heard that it's this dangerous tool that thousands of jobs are going to be lost. It's going to take over the world and destroy us and generally be a bad thing. So then maybe you've tried some AI tools yourselves. Maybe you've tried Copilot or ChatGPT. Maybe you've seen some gimmicks. You've turned yourself into an action figure. Maybe you've used Copilot and found that it did some things really well, but maybe overall you were a bit underwhelmed and you were kind of wondering what's the hype about. So in this webinar, we're going to go through what we see as the kind of state of play for, with regards to AI as it relates to New Zealand small to medium businesses right now. So just, I guess, some definitions. When we're talking about AI, it can be kind of cloudy these days. What exactly is AI? So we're mostly talking about large language models and machine learning tools that help you automate tasks and assist you on your daily business. You've probably heard of the likes of ChatGPT, Copilot, Claude, Gemini. These are all generative AI tools. But also we're seeing that AI is turning up nearly everywhere. If you've got some form of line of business application, a ERP or a CRM, or practice management system or a document management system, you will know that they are all having AI tools being built into them. So AI is everywhere. What a year ago might have been called a new feature is now being called an AI tool. So there's a lot of hype out there, and there's a lot to unpack. So today we're going to very quickly break it down. What do we see AI as being really good at? Where are its strengths? What do we see where it's not so good? And there's maybe some weaknesses. And it gives you some tips on where to start using it in your business and in your day-to-day work. So, and this won't just be in theory, we'll hopefully give you some practical tips to go forward. And also just a caveat as well, the AI space and these AI tools are evolving at a massive rate. They're evolving and improving much more quickly than previous tools and technologies that we've seen. So the caveat is, it's the 18th of June, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. This is all our opinion as of right now. Tomorrow, we could be completely wrong because that's how fast things move. So let's jump into it. First of all, let's talk about where we see that AI is actually really useful. And I'm going to break this down into two sections. The first section, I'm going to talk about AI as a personal assistant. And then the second part, I'm going to talk about AI as an automation tool, because they're kind of two different areas where AI can be helpful. So first of all, on the screen, you'll see a list of things where we see that AI as a personal assistant is really good and really useful. These are the things, if you have use cases that involve these things, AI is going to help you. So summarizing long documents or emails, you're seeing this in a lot of tools, certainly Copilot, ChatGPT, Adobe PDF these days. It's going to prompt you if you want to summarize the PDF. So if you've got a long document, 30-page document, if you've got a long email string, maybe you've been away and come back to an email string with 15 different replies, AI is going to be really good at summarizing that. What happened, who said what, where they mentioned you, and get you up to speed more quickly. It's still summary, so you're not going to know everything. You might still have to read that long document, especially if you're sort of there to critique it. But as a tool to summarize long documents, it's great. The second one, improving content clarity and grammar. We see this as being a really good tool for people where English is a second language. So I personally do work at Te Whao Aotearoa, where there's people where sign language is their first language, English is their second language, and AI tools can help improve their English. It can also help with people with sort of lower literacy, maybe people who suffer from dyslexia. Again, it's another tool to help their writing and written English. The third one is kind of a big one. It's the end of the blank page, is what they say. So if you've got to write an email or a document or a report, in the past you might have started with a blank page and it's quite daunting. AI can write that, and with a few clever prompts, it'll give you a starting point. Now, that starting point could be kind of off the mark, but it's so much easier to go, well, that's wrong, and correct it than it is to start with a blank page. So it's certainly a very good tool for giving you a starting point of all kinds of different documents, reports, emails. It's good at reconciling and cleaning spreadsheet data with some caveats, which we're going to go into a bit later. So it can be very good at reconciliation of spreadsheet information and working with data. You've just got to know how to use it right. Assisting with meeting notes and actions, I think that's one of the sort of killer features of Copilot is the Teams integration. Being able to record and transcribe the meetings and then provide you with notes and actions. It is pretty good at that. And if you are someone who hosts a lot of meetings, it is a very useful tool that's going to save you some time. Generating imagery and infographics. This is something that even for work-related purposes, it does very well, and you can spend quite a lot of time on it. Certainly there's tools, we use one at Cambium called Napkin, which is a tool that will take a list or a bulleted list and turn it into an infographic or variety of infographics, which is kind of useful and kind of cool the way it does it. Comparing documents, collating responses. Maybe you've done an RFP and you've got 5 different responses back, getting them all collated, asking it to put together a table so that you can compare them. It is really good at that, and again will save you a lot of information. Sorry, save you a lot of time to collate that information and get it in a format that you can quickly compare. Software development and application coding, I think it has already had a massive impact. So for the average New Zealand SME, maybe unless you're a software shop, this isn't going to be relevant, but we're seeing this in software development and application coding. It is a game changer, and it will have a big impact on that industry. You can use it to check documents for guideline compliance. So again, this comes with a bit of a caveat that we'll talk about later. If you've set up guidelines for your documents, you can measure the document that you've created against the company guidelines and make sure that it meets them. That might be branding, that might be wording, that might be all sorts of things. Does it make sure that there's no offensive language, bias, racism in the documents? And converting outputs to other formats. Again, this is a real strength of certainly Copilot and other AI tools. If you've got a Word document and you need to turn it into a PowerPoint presentation, it does a really good job of it. If you've got a knowledge base, say document or a technical document, and you want to turn that into an FAQ document or a Q&A, it's really good at that. It will turn a white paper into a podcast. It can do so. Converting things from one form to another, it is really good at that, and that can be very useful. So that as a personal assistant working alongside you to make your day-to-day life hopefully easier, save you some time, is where we see right now AI is really strong. So what about AI as an automation tool? So again, these are the areas where we have seen AI as an automation tool to be, again, really strong. And I guess the caveat here is AI is one part of that, and we'll go into that a bit later as well. So a few examples here. Construction operations team, we actually did a webinar about this. We had an organisation that spent a lot of time gathering emissions data from all of their suppliers' invoices, and process automation that included AI was put in place to really streamline that and save them days of time, save them reliance on one person, made the process consistent. An IT managed service provider, such as Kinetics, is using AI tools to help write or correct or check time entries and invoice annotations. We're also using it to generate automated email text when we're sending out monthly reports. That's a bit more clever than please see the report. Similarly, with the accounting practice, they were using AI to draft emails to their clients that, again, were just as a starting point, they were far better than copying and pasting something or just having a rote email. They took into account the attachments and things like that. And then the bottom one, building a chatbot to handle those FAQs for retailers, having that on their website can save them the amount of time that their customer service people need to spend on phones or responding to emails. And again, that was largely, like I said, converting from one format to the other. You've got the documentation, let's turn it into an FAQ or a chatbot and make it more accessible for people to access. So that are some examples of where we see AI as being really useful, the sort of strengths as of right now. Those are the strengths, both as a personal assistant and as automation tools. So now let's talk about where we see it being not so good, where we have seen AI tools go wrong. And by going wrong, often it's just people have tried them and gone, this is no good. And here's some things to look for. The first one, ironically, is expecting too much. Some people have heard that AI is going to be the latest and greatest thing. It's going to do everything. And it is really good. And it's here. And it is an amazing set of tools. But it's not going to solve all of your problems in one fell swoop. I was told by Microsoft themselves about Copilot that we should think of it as a very clever intern, but an intern that's only started in your organization that morning. So whilst they're very smart, and they can work really quickly, you have to provide them context for everything because they don't know anything about your organization. They just started this morning. So I guess we need to keep that in mind. Don't think that out of the box it's just going to solve all your problems and know everything. It does require a bit of effort from your point of view to get the most out of it. We've also seen that AI tools, especially Copilot, is reasonably poor at branding. If you use Copilot and have just had it installed and you said, create a proposal and use my branding or use my template, it's going to do a really bad job of it or not do it at all. Now, again, there's caveats to it because you can, in fact, run some commands in the back end. You can set up Copilot so that it will know your branding and will be better at it. And that is, we're seeing that being developed kind of as we speak. But historically, using your branding, using your templates, not great at that. The third one is automating broken or unclear processes. This is, I guess, quite an important one, and we'll go into this in a bit more detail. If you've got a process in your business that's not great, AI is not going to fix it. If you've got a broken process where there's paper or there's duplication or whatever, or you don't really understand what the process is, or your team doesn't, AI is not going to help. We need to look at the process first and then use AI where it's appropriate rather than just saying AI is going to fix this. And then skipping human review and oversight. There's a reason Microsoft call it Copilot and not Autopilot. It is designed to give you options, but it still needs human review and oversight. It is not always going to be perfect, and we'll go into some of the risks on the next slide. Writing in your unique tone of voice. This is one I find can be sometimes grating for me, is the way it writes is not how I would write. It doesn't sound like me. So again, as long as you're reviewing and making changes, that's okay. But you're not going to expect it, certainly from what we've seen so far, to get to know the way that you write very quickly. And again, that will be something that might change in the future, but right now it writes like AI writes. Using AI in situations needing human empathy. Whilst it can be a good chatbot and it is getting better, I think there is nothing like, if I've got a complaint, picking up the phone and talking to someone. You don't want to replace that with an AI system because it just doesn't have that human empathy. And then the last one, being unclear when asking it to work on data. I mentioned this before when talking about reconciling spreadsheet data. Working with data, you have to be quite specific, and we'll go into the reasons why on the next slide. So the risks that you need to know about when you are looking to use a Copilot tool, an AI tool, which might be Copilot. And these are risks you need to know when any of the staff in your organization are using AI tools, which they almost certainly already are doing. The first one is privacy. So the free public AI tools, ChatGPT out of the box, will use the data that you give it to train their models. So it is putting that information into the public domain. So if that is a sensitive document, if it's got personal information in it, if it's confidential or critical to your business, you don't want to be uploading that to a free or public AI tool. And that's one of the reasons why I guess people are using the Microsoft Copilot tool, is because Microsoft are clear on the governance and the security around it. I'm not saying it's foolproof, not saying it's 100% safe, but at least Microsoft say all of the other protections, security that is in place around the Microsoft 365 suite apply to Copilot. Accuracy. AI can sound very convincing and can write stuff and go, well, that's the answer, and it can be wrong. It can join two dots together where they shouldn't be joined. It can make 1 + 1 = 3. So you do need to check the accuracy. Where is it getting that information from? Is that information compelling? Copyright, something to consider if you're generating imagery. although there's theoretically no copyright around it, you still need to be careful that it isn't looking like something else that does have copyright. So that's a bit of a blurry one. I'm certainly not a copyright lawyer, but you have to be a little bit careful, and that will depend how you're using that information as well. Bias. So a lot of these AI tools are working off the data that you're giving it, or the data that it's trained on, which might be out there in the big bad internet of things. So it won't necessarily be unbiased. It won't be fair. It won't be diverse. It could do bad things depending on the data it's been given. So you need to have policies in place to measure and respond to that. Blind reliance, as I've said before, it just still needs to be checked. It still needs to have that eye cast over it, especially depending on what it is that you're using it to create. And hallucinations. So further than just being wrong or being inaccurate, it will make stuff up. So we've seen this in the work we've done. There was a case where we had a table of 12 with 12 columns and information around it, and we were asking AI to summarize and give us information around that, and it had made up 3 columns. It had decided 15 was the better number. So we actually had to prompt it to say, no, use the actual data, don't make stuff up, because it will make stuff up, which to us seems a bit crazy when you're working with data, and it's all around understanding how to prompt it and setting it up to be correct in the first place. So they're the risks, some of the areas where it doesn't do so well. So where should you start? So again, we're going to break this down into 2 areas. Where should you start with a personal assistant, or what are some tips to get the most out of it? And then where should you start with AI as an automation tool? So first, personal assistant. So typically the ones we're seeing are Copilot, ChatGPT, those sorts of things. So the first important thing to know is prompting is a new skill. Prompting is not the same as Googling or searching. It's not the same potentially as any other skill that you've learnt in the past. Prompting and successfully to get the information that you need out of the tools is a bit of a thing that has to be learnt over time. It's a iterative process. You start and then you prompt again and prompt again. So expect to have to learn prompting as a skill to get the most out of the AI tools. Related to that is collaborate. Because it's a new skill and because everyone's learning it, share the knowledge within your team. If you're all using these tools, form a working group, meet once a month or once a fortnight, and just share the little tips and hacks and tricks that you found over the last 2 weeks or 4 weeks. Build a prompt library. But the prompts that you use can be really valuable. Save them somewhere, share them with the rest of your team so that they can use them as well. Which leads us to the next one, save your best prompts. Make sure that you, especially if it's a task that you're doing regularly, summarizing your mailbox, summarizing a long thing, but in a specific way that makes sense to you, save those prompts and share them. Tools like Microsoft Copilot now have not only a history, but a way that you can save those prompts, but also make sure you do share them with your team as well, because if you find it useful, it's likely that other people will as well. Start small. Like I say, don't try and solve the world's problems in one fell swoop. Start with a small team. Make sure that you understand where it works well, where it doesn't for your organization before you roll it out to other people. Set guardrails, make sure that people know the risks, make sure you've got policies in place around it and there's good governance. Make sure that staff know what the approved tools are. Make sure you know what the approved tools are and everyone else does. And yeah, set up those guardrails and help people get the most out of it. And lastly, protect the data. The biggest risk these days is people using the public AI tools, because typically because there's a benefit for them to use that, which is good, but they need to know the risks around putting sensitive or confidential private information into those tools. And so we should just start with AI as an automation tool. And the first important thing is if you're looking to automate processes, don't start with AI. AI is a tool in your toolkit that you might use to fix a process automation, but it's not where you start. You've got to start with understanding the problem, understanding your process, understanding what you want to get out of it. So clearly define the issue and then work backwards as well. One of the most important things with some of these business processes is start at the finish. What's the outcome? I want to get this information so that I can invoice it, so I can generate this report, whatever. Okay, and then work backwards. How would we get that? Because you might find in your current process you're gathering information that never gets used, or you're putting information into different systems but no one's ever looking at it. So working backwards can really help with that. So clarifying the outcomes, know what success looks like before you choose the tools. So if you know what the outcomes should be and you know what your process is, then you can go, well, AI is going to help here. And it might not be the whole process, it might be a specific part of it or parts of it. So then, yeah, select the right tools based on the task. So that might be AI tool, and it might not be. One of the most common things that Ben will get asked when he's doing a workshop around Copilot is, can Copilot do this? And often the answer is, well, no, Copilot can't, but Power Automate can, or this tool can, or you can already do that in Word, just do this. So it's good that people are thinking, because of AI, they're thinking about how they can streamline their processes, but just be aware there are lots of tools out there. And get help. Ask the experts. If you're not sure how to streamline your processes, get in touch with us, we can help. So, just conscious of the time, which is flying by, some closing thoughts. AI is here to stay. It's not a fad. It's already here. It is not going away. We need to upskill ourselves and be comfortable with it and learn how to use it. Fix the process before the technology. Focus on your business processes, not on AI first. Build confidence through awareness and training. Training is hugely important, especially for those personal assistant type AI tools. And you don't have to go it alone. So ask for help and we can help give you some guidance. So, felt like I really rushed through that, but any questions? So yeah, if you've got any questions, just post them into the chat. As I said, this webinar is being recorded and will be put onto the kinetics.co.nz website if you want to come back and look at any of those slides or get more detail. Okay, I see a question from Ashley. Are there any specific AI apps to stay away from? Ooh, that's a good question. I wouldn't say there's any to stay away from. I think that there are some that have strengths and weaknesses. I think it is good to understand what tools are good at what. For example, tools like Claude seem to be really good at the sort of code, software development. Copilot obviously has the advantage of being able to work with your 365 data, but isn't great all of the time. So yeah, I haven't come across any that you would deliberately stay away from. Ben, I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that.
I just think like any tool or piece of kit or software you put on your computer, you should do your due diligence. There's many tools that might help us get the job done, but we still need to do that assessment of them.
Yeah.
And with AI tools, what are they actually doing with your data that you are putting in? Yeah, some have got those guardrails around them, protection around them. In particular, Copilot does when you're using it in the Microsoft 365 environment. Whereas if you put a document into ChatGPT or Gemini or any other tool, and I'm thinking the sort of free versions of those and even the paid, what's actually happening with that data that I'm putting into ChatGPT? I know Microsoft give us certain protection or data protection rules and ethical rules that are applied to our interactions, but who knows with other tools. So yeah, a bit of due diligence.
That leads on to Neil's question around automated AI minute takers. So again, I would look at where they're storing that data and what they're doing with it. What's the saying? If the tool is or the product is free, then you're the product. I know there have been concerns around some of those AI note takers. They've got access to your audio and your video. So what's happening with that? So you just want to be really careful. And that applies not just to AI tools, any tool that you're using that you're putting your data into, what is happening to that?
Yeah, I think with some of those meeting minute takers, they're actually sending the results out to all the attendees of the meeting as well. So was that your intention? And also maybe the person didn't want to be recorded by your minute taker and you've made no disclosure about that.
Yep. And then, yeah, Philip, you made a comment around DeepSeek. Obviously, the Chinese LLM. So there's certainly been some advice to stay away from that from certain government agencies and things like that. And again, it's just for any product. If you're putting your information into it, that's important to you. What's happening to that? What are the protections? Where's it being stored? Who's it being shared with? What's going to be used for?
Yeah, and a bit of a wee tip, not so much on what not to use, but if you do not just rely on one of the AIs, the generative AI tools. So if you're doing research, for example, well, why not put the same prompt into ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, so you can, see and compare the results or validate what one may have given you back by another one doing it. You can also ask them to fact check stuff as well. So whether that's a document or review them for bias as well. So those are all things you can do with the AI tools too. So yeah.
Yep. Excellent. We've run a little bit over time, but just before we close off, a note around the next Kinetics webinar on Wednesday, the 16th of July, is going to be about securing the mobile frontier. So making sure that all of your security and protection that you've got on your laptop is also reflected on any other device you might use, like a phone or a tablet. And on that note, I think we will leave you to it. Thank you all for joining. As I said, the webinar will be on the Kinetics website, and we will see you next time. I can see we've got a few people joined, so that's good.